But let's continue to build on the evidence-based research that we had in behavioral safety and add in the very sober analytical thinking of the HOP folks.
Let me tie this question in then. Do you think it's possible, taking both of those methods that you just referenced, for a company to actually have a safety culture?
Yeah, absolutely. When I'm sitting in presentations and hear people talk about safety culture, and then I look around the room, you see everybody nodding. But then after that nod, you can see kind of a confused look in their face because, when we say shared attitudes, beliefs, and values, assumptions of these things and the like, it just leaves people confused. It's not actionable, right? Everybody kind of gets it because we're all human and we all have these feelings and we all named them and the like. But when you say we need to change people's attitudes, we need to change people's values, it's unactionable. And in fact, we shouldn't be so pompous as to think we can change somebody else's attitude. That's done by God and their parents. You're not going to do that in the 8 hours you have them at work, especially around their values and beliefs and these other major constructs. In psychology, I'm trained to deal with very what we call them constructs, with names of things that don't really mean anything. We call them constructs because we just constructed that name. We built it from nothing, right? Just so we can study it. And culture is a construct. Culture it doesn't really exist in any formal, concrete sense. It's something that we know is there. And so when people are talking about safety culture, typically when we get around to this idea of changing people's values and beliefs, I think it's almost insulting to the worker. I mean, can't we just say that everybody who comes to work values safety? I mean, it's insulting to say somebody doesn't value safety, right? So I tend to lean toward a more operational view of what culture is. And let me just try this out on you, Jay. And it's been pretty widely accepted by the groups I talk to. Safety culture is people talking to each other about safety, period, right? You can see people talk. You can hear the product of their conversations. You can measure talking. We do it with our near-miss reports and the like, right? And talking makes a difference. You can have somebody next to you alert you when you're taking a risk and talking to you about a better way. So safety culture and talking is pretty clear. You can see when people are talking in your company and it's going against safety, such as when a supervisor encourages a worker to take a risk, to take a shortcut. You can see when people talk in your company that doesn't help or hurt safety. It's like, we're just talking about the football game over the weekend and just kind of chatting socially. And you can see when people talk in a way that increases the safety of themselves and others, like asking questions, giving direction, coaching each other, or doing the feedback portion after a behavioral safety observation. So when you say safety culture, I think it's much better defined as something that we can see and do something about. It's a behavior. Talking is a behavior we can do something about. So taking this back around to your original question of can we combine the tenets of behavioral safety and HOP to impact a safety culture, the answer is absolutely, if we have a good definition of safety culture, right? If it's just values and beliefs and the like, I don't think so. But if it's to get people to talk about safety, I think we can. In behavioral safety, we have a conversation built into the process. People do the observations, peers do observations with other peers, noting safe and at-risk behaviors, and afterwards they talk to each other. They talk to each other about what was done safe and give each other praise. They talk to each other about what was at risk, and then they continue talking to try to solve the problem. Why were we in a position to take this risk? Let's itemize the system variables that we can turn over to our employee teams. They can talk to management, and we can get something done. From the HOP perspective, right, a lot of their processes are talking, right? When you go out and do different audits or inspections or look at specific tasks and go through the behaviors in that task. That's all talking, right? And where I think behavior safety can really enhance HOP is the talking that is promoted at the worker level in behavioral safety, the peer-to-peer talking, the talking among an employee team, and the talking between employees and management that it encourages. All that talking gives HOP the basis to find out where the risks and hazards are, so then they can do their analytic systems thinking. And the key point about safety culture is that when that happens, when I get coached, when I talk about what concerns me, it gets worked with management, it gets analyzed, and my workplace gets safer. I see the connection between my talking and the safer workplace. I see the connection between me talking with my peers and more people coaching each other. And when that happens, I talk more. And when I talk more, by definition, we strengthen our safety culture.
And we'll be back right after this with Dr. Tim Ludwig, author of Dysfunctional Practices That Kill Your Safety Culture and What to Do About Them, here on Safety FM.
We are changing safety cultures, one broadcast and one podcast at a time. safetyfm.com.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
Hello.
You have asked for it.
Todd Conklin.
Todd Conklin coming. The interview with Todd Conklin from the Pre-Accident Investigation Podcast. On July 24th, be one of the first to hear the Todd Conklin interview here on Safety FM.
Join the fun on social media and find us on Facebook at Safety FM.
And we are back with Dr. Tim Ludwig. For more information on Dr. Ludwig, go to safety-docs.com. Dr. Ludwig, it sounds like you put a lot of thought into this, and I was about to jump on your book. I want to say, I think that this is what I think your book has some of this information in there. And the book, of course, is called Dysfunctional Practices That Kill Your Safety Culture and What You Can Do About Them. So give us a little bit more information about that, if you don't mind, because I believe that some of the stuff that you mentioned, of course, is going to be in the book. When somebody's going to grab your book, and I will tell you, it has one of those covers that does stick out when you see it. And when you look at it, what do you want people to gather the moment they grab that book?
The book is in response to a lot of the press about behavioral safety being a process that blames the worker. And it's quite the opposite. In fact, if you had access to behavior science and the paradigms behind what we study, you would see that it's completely the opposite. B.F. Skinner, our mentor in chief, if you will, and W. Edwards Deming, the linking of those two thinkers is what really built behavior-based safety. And if you look at both of their writings, it's clear that we use our observations of behavior to try to understand where the system has let the individual down. And so I just want to give people access to our science in a way that's accessible and fun to read, with stories and the like. And so, I wrote Dysfunctional Practices for that. The crux of what I was trying to get at is a lot of the behaviors in the culture, in the safety culture of many companies, actually can put workers in position to take risks and to be less safe and get injured. Remember, safety culture is people talking. So in this book, I analyze how a lot of people are talking to each other in our industries out there, how it ends up maybe putting more people at risk, and then, of course, as the title suggests, what to do about it. I think the first inkling I had, this was many years ago in one of my initial consulting projects. There's a company nearby. There's an auto manufacturing plant. They had like 400 different plants worldwide. And some were really good, some were best in practice, and others are really struggling. Well, there's one here in the United States who's really struggling, and we did a safety culture survey, and that survey suggested that they were one of the worst in the company in their safety culture. And so they asked me to come out and interview people and try to get under, try to really figure out what's going on. So I was pleased to do so. So I get there, and I still remember it clearly. We were in a boardroom, right, and the manager was a brand new manager. He'd only been there for 6 months because the other one got fired. They had so many injuries. The plant was a mess. There was so much oil mist coming off the machines. He said you couldn't even see the clock on the wall. So we were in this boardroom with this manager. We had an employee team there. I can't really remember how they were picked. I asked it to be random, but they could be really committed. And we had like another manager of maintenance there. And I kid you not, before I really got into introducing and things like that, the manager started, Tim, we've really got a problem here. I've been working my butt off trying to make this place safer. I've been spending tens of thousands of dollars on the equipment and machinery and trying to make this place safer. And I've just been asking workers to do their part, not to take risks, to clean up after themselves. And we're still having these injuries. And he kept complaining. And I remember this one redhead woman over on the side of the boardroom standing up. And she says, "What are you calling us, stupid?" And he literally said, a little quote from Forrest Gump, because stupid is as stupid does.
Oh my God.
And in that next moment, I saw safety culture. It wasn't the positive safety culture. It was the negative safety culture, where the talking I saw was managers and employees just arguing with each other in ways that wasn't functional. They were calling each other stupid. They were using labels, right? And so, it occurred to me, this guy was calling everybody stupid. Well, you can't fix stupid. First of all, nobody's stupid, as it is. These are committed, competent people coming to work on both the worker and management side. So obviously it's just an insult, right? But even if they were, what could you do to fix it? You can't fix attitudes and beliefs and values and things like that, but you can fix behavior. So I kicked the manager out of the room, and about an hour and a half later he came back. I was doing some interviews with the employees, so I really wanted to kind of get their clear, honest opinion about everything. When he came back, his face was ashen. I mean, he was like scared, and he sat down, and it was actually the woman who kind of said, "Hey, Joe, are you all right?" And he goes, "I got to tell you a story." He said that he decided he wasn't going to go back to his office because he didn't want to get back into email land. He wanted to keep his head in the game. He wanted to really try to solve this problem. So he decided to go out into the plant and try to learn what the workers were talking about when they were telling him all the stuff that they were concerned about. And he said, "Well, I'm a manager, so I don't need, I don't know how to work these machines. So I figured, even a manager can change a light bulb." So he decided to go around and change some of the light bulbs that were out. And he found himself on the top rung of a stepladder with his office shoes on, standing on one foot with his other leg kind of strapped around some piping, trying to reach up and change a light bulb. And he kicked out the stepladder and caught himself and nearly fell like 6 feet.
Oh, wow.
And then, shimmied down, and he came back into our room. And, of course, the redhead steps up and he goes, "What are you, stupid?" And then, of course, what did he say? He said, "Yep, I was stupid." And
welcome to dysfunctional practices, right?
Welcome to dysfunctional practices. And then I looked around the room like everybody's kind of a little happier, but nothing was solved, right? Because he accepted the label. And what are you going to do? Fix stupid? Well, no, because anybody else in that situation would have found themselves at risk. So we take the opportunity there to find a better way, right? To find a better way, understand how he found himself on top of that stepladder to begin with. And so we went through that process and found out that the 6-foot ladders were about a 7 to 10 minute walk to the loading dock. So you're asking somebody who wants to change light bulbs to walk all the way there and then take a 6-foot ladder all the way through all the oily machinery to set it up just to change the light bulb. And then we asked, well, what about the stepladder? Well, the stepladder was sitting over by this closet. He had put some closets in to put cleaning equipment to clean up the oil, and evidently step ladders were sitting there too, so he just took the available tool. So then we see the cause of the behavior, right? You have the available step ladder where he can get the job done immediately while taking a risk, or he could take a 15-minute walk and put himself in exposure to more risk to get this 6-foot ladder. So instead of calling